Oh hi, my name's Alex. By popular request, I'm finally making a video tutorial for my foam Masquerade mask patterns. We'll go over the basics like the tools, materials, as well as how to scale and understand the patterns. And we'll also go through cutting and gluing and assembly. There's not much to it. Hopefully with this video and the foam pattern guide, you'll understand that it's actually a pretty simple process to make one of these. So let's get started.
Alright, so let's start with the tools. So very basically, you're going to need a knife to start with. I like using an X-Acto or scalpel knife, something like this, craft knife, with a nice sharp blade. Your blade will dull as you cut through foam, so it's good to have a sharpener on hand or just be able to change blades every now and then. You can also just use a box cutter or utility knife with, again, a sharp blade to help cut through foam. To glue things together, preferably you'll want some contact cement. This stuff is from Lumen's Workshop, a supplier in Australia. There's also Sigma contact cement, and I know in non-Australian countries there's barge. And basically, this stuff you just put on a thin layer, maybe 1 or 2 layers, leave it for 5-10 minutes until it's completely dry, and then you'll be able to instantly adhere pieces when you stick them together, and it holds really well. Now, contact cement is a harmful chemical, nasty vapors, so you want to make sure you wear a respirator, something that's suitable for harmful fumes. And then you want to work in a well-ventilated area as well. Fans, windows open, working outside, whatever you can do just to get rid of those stanky fumes. If you can't, for whatever reason, use contact cement, you can use super glue. Just any generic super glue will work. From like the Bunnings stuff, there's like the $2 pack, $2 for 6-pack. So that works pretty well. It's a little messier and doesn't flex quite as well as contact cement. That's why I prefer this stuff. If you really don't have any other choice, you can use hot glue. However, it is much messier than the other two options. And you'll find if you keep it in heat, it'll start to soften a bit. Things will start to slowly tear apart. So really avoid hot glue if you can. If you want to get a little extra fancy, grab yourself a heat gun. And you can use this to lightly heat up the foam. And you'll be able to bend it and sort of contour it into shape, sort of stretch it out a bit, give it a bit more definition, so to say. I've printed myself a couple of different foam anvils, basically just half a sphere on a stick. And what I'll do is I'll heat that up again in a well-vented area, bad fumes. Heat this up a little bit, not till it burns, but just till it goes shiny and warm and soft and malleable. And you'll be able to push it around over there, and that'll just help bring out some of the curves in there. It's not required, but it'll definitely help you get the shape that you want. As for the foam that you want, you'll generally want a 3mm EVA foam. You can probably find this most craft stores just as craft foam. I like to get my EVA foam from Lumen's Workshop, which is an Australian cosplay material supplier. It's got high quality foams, but you can also find craft foams in most craft stores or even cheap shops. Generally, anything from 3 to 4mm would work for these patterns. I've even seen some people use felt or leather or fabrics to make their own patterns, which is awesome. But for this tutorial, we'll be sticking just to foam. Let's start with reading the patterns. So we've got 2 slightly different ways in the patterns are made, just based on when they were made and how they were made. So we'll start with these ones over here. These are the ones that we'll be using today. As you can see, almost every edge has a number on it. The ones without a number on there will be an outside edge. The ones that have mirror written on there means that you'll flip them over and it'll just be a symmetrical part on the other side. These ones, basically what you want to do is just find the edges with the same numbers and put them together. So for example here, you've got an edge 1 here and an edge 1 here, which means they simply just go together like that. For the newer style patterns, you'll see that they've got a large number in the middle and then numbers around the outside again. What this means is each piece has a number. So this is piece 1, this is piece 2. So the numbers around the edges represent which piece they connect to. For example, here we've got piece 1 with number 2 on the end. And here we've got piece 2 with number 1 here, which means that connects to piece 1, that connects to piece 2, and they simply go together like that. Now, as for the different markings on the patterns themselves, you'll see here we've got these thin black lines. These simply represent registration marks. Basically, as you're gluing them along, you're trying to make sure you line these up just to make sure everything is going to be kept in shape and you're not going to end up with too much, too little at either end. You may have to push and pull your pieces a little bit to do this, but foam is flexible and it's designed for that. And if you do have to do that, it's because these are designed in a way that you'll help get more definition in your shape by doing so. We've also got a few thicker gray lines, such as ones here, and these represent where two pieces connect to that point. So we'll take our mask pattern, for example, and you can see we've got one here and one here. And if you look at this pattern piece here, you can see that they've got two pieces connecting onto this mark here, as well as two pieces that connect to this mark here. You'll probably also see some pieces with a dotted edge, like that. And usually they'll have a bevel out or bevel in written on there. This means that when you cut it, you'll need to cut it with a bevel, and we'll get into that in just a second. Now, scaling the patterns is pretty simple. These are generally one size fits all, but if you want to be extra sure that it fits to you, or if you're designing for kids, you may need to scale it up or down. It's a simple calculation to do it, and every guide comes with a number to divide by to show you a percentage to scale up or down. So for example, with this particular pattern here, the guide tells us to measure roughly more than an inch or a few centimeters past the eye. So from this dummy head, we'd be measuring from about there to there. And we'd take a cloth tape, which I unfortunately don't have at the moment, and basically just measuring across the eye to either side. So in this example, we'll just say that that's 10 centimeters. The ReadMe says that we'll take that measurement and divide it by 11 centimeters, or use inches if you're working in inches. So for example, if we measure 10 centimeters here, then we divide 10 by 11, and we get 0.91, which means that we'll be scaling the pattern down to 91% of its original scale to fit onto here. Each pattern also comes in A4 and letter sizes. That way, this should hopefully fit basically anyone's printer. One thing that's worth noting when you're tracing your paper patterns onto foam is that you don't want the beveled out edges to get too close to other pieces. For example, as you can see, this piece is beveled out, but the edge of the pattern, the paper pattern, will show it being at the top there. You don't want to put that too close to another piece so that you've already cut that piece out and you go to bevel out that piece and you find it's actually cutting into this piece. So you're either going to end up with missing section on this one or just a missing section on this one. So you want to make sure you just give them about 5 mil, maybe even 1 centimeter of room, just to make sure that it is going to have enough room for you to be able to bevel out. So we've got a couple of pieces here that I haven't cut out just yet, so I'll show on camera. We'll start with this piece here. So if we look at my pattern, this is the mirror side, by the way, but I can see here that this is a beveled out bit. That means that when I cut, I want to cut it so that the blade faces outside of the pattern. So I'll hold it like this. And just take your time, slowly making sure you follow the line. Keep it at about a 45-degree angle, but it doesn't have to be too precise. And you'll see that when I cut that, instead of being straight up and down, it's got just a bit of an angle on there. Roughly, hopefully, 45 degrees. For the rest of these ones, I can just cut straight down. And again, having a fresh blade will help you get really nice bevels and just really clean cuts. There. So that's one piece done. And this one again, this one in particular, you've got to be careful because there is a solid line here, which means you're cutting at 90, but then it goes into a bevel line, which means you'll be cutting in on a bevel part way through. And I can see in this piece, I'll be beveling in, which is the opposite of what I was just doing. So I'll start by cutting it straight down 90, and then when I get to those dotted lines, I'm just going to change into cutting. I'll do it from this way because I find this easier. Cutting in about that 45 degree. And there you go. Cutting in, which will produce that inward angle. Now, before I start throwing glue down on my pieces, I like to get them organized just into approximately how they're going to glue together. So I haven't got numbers on each of these foam patterns here. I usually just put the lines on there and then keep my pattern handy just to be able to correlate which numbers go together. That's just one less thing to have to clean up at the end. So I can see that this piece, number 3, goes with number 3 on this edge here. So put them together. That all roughly sits like that. This piece here goes in there, and that piece on the end. Now I'm going to take these pieces and heat them up and glue them in a different room. At the moment I'm not going to do it in here because it's the closed-off room, and I don't want those nasty particles just staying and floating around here. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've gone ahead and heat formed and glued almost everything together. I'm going to take probably the trickiest part of this pattern, just going to be putting 2 pieces together, and show you guys how to do it. So I can either start from one end and go along, or start from the middle. I might start from the middle just to make sure it's more likely to end up even on both sides. So I'm just going to align these 2 points in the center and just slowly press it in the top. Slowly make my way around. I can push and pull pieces a little bit because foam is soft and compressible and stretchable a bit, and try and make sure as best as I can that these outer edges are nice and flat. I'm gonna have to pull this out a little bit just to get that in that kind of a sharp corner in there. And this is where heat forming it comes in handy as well, because not only do you get the right shape, it puts less strain on the pieces to try and pull apart. So that's that side done. I'm just going to go around again and try and push in some of these edges a bit better. Probably didn't let the glue dry enough. And then I'll repeat the same to the other side. Make those marks line up as best as I can. And if you find things are a little bit messy, you can always go over with a rotary tool such as a Dremel. You can use foam clay to seal gaps as well. There's quite a few different methods of just cleaning up in the end. You might even be able to just quickly dab the tips of the edges with some super glue just to try and get them pressed down. But you might need to clean that up again later as well. As you can see, there is our finished mask. Cheeks are probably a little bit too prominent for my heat forming, but we can always go over that with a heat gun again and just soften that up again. But there you have it. That is your finished mask. Now, I'll only briefly go over the painting. Before you do the painting, you'll probably want to clean up all these blue lines on there just to make sure they don't show up in the end. You can do that with just basically isopropyl alcohol, with a rag to soak it, go over there. If you are sealing the foam with something such as Mod Podge, Flex Bond, you probably won't need to worry about that as much. I do recommend sealing it because if you paint just straight onto foam, the porous surface of the foam will absorb the paint a little bit, so it won't be as prominent. So yeah, if you can use a flexible material such as Mod Podge or Flex Bond, that'll help with painting quite a lot. And of course, you might want to make some modifications. So you might want to add some foam clay to put in some details, carve in details with a rotary tool, knife and heat gun, or a soldering iron. The point of these patterns is just to serve as a base design for you to be able to add or even take away from to make your ideal mask.
And there you have it, one foam Masquerade mask. I really hope this video helped you guys out. If you enjoyed making a mask, it would be great if you could leave a review either on my website or on Etsy. If you have any feedback, or if you still have questions, please let me know because I'm always happy to respond and always happy to take on suggestions. If you guys enjoyed making this, there's plenty of more patterns available on my website and on Etsy, but I will say you'll get them a little bit cheaper on my website. If you make a mask that you're proud of, I'd absolutely love to see it. You can put it in a photo and review on Etsy, or just tag me on social media. I'm Planet Alexander Projects basically everywhere, and I would love to see what you guys get up to. Thank you so much. See ya.